Hi. Happy Sunday. Hopefully you are getting some sun in your day. I have a message. I have some good news. I have a thing that's flowing through me, so I thought I'd come here and share with y'all. This is a message from the divine. This is from Source, the Heavenly Father, the Earthly Mother, the Creator of it all, the divine. This is from the Holy Spirit that lives and dwells within each one of us, as long as we are not shutting ourselves off to it. And this message may just be for you. You know, as of lately, it's been feeling rather like we're surrounded, like there's not much hope left. Like it has become so very dark. But in the darkness, I'm hearing, do not be discouraged. Do not lose faith. For it is always darkest before the dawn. Right before the dawn, even the critters of the night curl up to sleep. Right before the dawn, the entire world grows dark and cold and quiet. And as the chills and the tingles begin to overtake my body, so does the life and the light on the earth. From the darkest, darkest moment, from the coldest bit of night comes new light. And the birds begin to stir and chirp, and they sing forward and sing forth a new day, a new dawn, a new possibility. So, welcome. Hi. The good news is, redemption is here. Revival is upon us, and restoration is coming. Redemption is here. Revival is upon us, and restoration is coming. Do you claim it? Do you receive it? Will you open your arms and spread them wide and allow that to grow and bloom within you? Because if you will, it's here and it's available for you. So let's start with redemption. Redemption is here. Redemption. Redemption means release of prisoners taken in war. Deliverance of people and things from the possession and the power of captors. Redemption means to be released. Redemption means to be redeemed, to be brought back to your power, to be set free from the bondage of slavery, from the chains of that which has controlled you. Redemption is upon us. It's happening now. People are being set free from things that have long since plagued them. And even in a season where things seem like they are dark, or they seem like they are chaotic, or they seem like shit is quite frankly really hitting the fan, in that chaos, the goodness prevails. And in that chaos, people are being set free. People like you and me. Redemption. Deliverance from bondage and distress. Release from liability, from evil. Redemption means repurchase. This is the repurchasing of your very existence and your very being. Redemption means being set free from a slavery that you didn't even, perchance, know that you were a part of. Bondage means slavery or involuntary servitude, and whether or not you know it or you want to admit it, we have all been slaves. We've been slaves to a system that was designed to keep us small, inadequate, and out of our power. But redemption is upon us. The awakening is here, and we are not allowing that any longer. Bondage. Restraint of liberty. Doesn't that sound like that's familiar? Doesn't that sound like something that many people around the world are encountering right now? Well, I declare and I prophesy that redemption is here, that is ending. That it is right now the darkest before the dawn, but the dawn is coming, and there is a revival that is happening within the hearts, within the minds, within the souls, within the spirits of every single waking, breathing, living person on earth, whether or not they are consciously aware of it. Exodus 6, chapter 6 through 8 says, I am God. I will bring you out from under the cruel, hard labor of Egypt. I will rescue you from slavery. I will redeem you, intervening with great acts of judgment. There are great acts of judgment being done right now on the planet for your benefit, for your freedom. There is much happening beneath the surface that you cannot see with your physical eyes, so please tap in with your spiritual eye. Get a sense of the energy that's flowing around you. Exodus 6 says, I'll take you as my own people and be God to you. You'll know that I am God, your God, that brings you out from under the cruel, hard labor of Egypt. I'll bring you into the land I promised, and I'll give it to you as your own country. See, we have a choice. We have a choice in all things, and the choice is, am I choosing to buy into the fear? Am I accepting the narrative that they're pitching? Do I believe that it is all gloom and doom, or do I actually stand in faith, and do I believe that all things can be used for good? Do I actually stand in the knowing that the sun will always rise, that there is more to be revealed? See, we've been living in darkness and depravity for so long. And sometimes when you begin to turn on the light and you begin to shine the flashlight in those dark corners and crevices, it can seem like, it can appear like, oh my God, are we in a mess? And yeah, we are. We have been for a very long time. But as the light is turned on and you see the truth and the reality of what is actually there, and it's no longer just hidden behind a cloak of darkness, there's a light shining on it, more is revealed. And that's what's happening right now. More is just being revealed. And if you do not know what I am talking about, please do yourself the service of doing your due diligence, because if we do not learn from the past, we will inevitably continue to unconsciously allow the past to be created in our present. And when we allow that, we actually determine and dictate what the future is. But the power of just a few awakened, intentional, aware, conscious beings, the power of those people to override the timeline and to choose the one that we actually desire to be on is profound. We outnumber them 1 to 1,000,000. One awake, aware person, one conscious person, one intentional person, one person that is moving with deliberation, with faith, one person that is walking by faith, not by sight, one person that is choosing the new reality, the one that we wish to see, where prosperity, abundance, well-being, community, collaboration, contribution are the norm. That kind of world, those of us that are living in that space are creating it as so. We are infinitely more powerful than the masses that follow blindly. The masses who, the M is often silent and they're really just asses. So you must know that. Because I know I've got some black sheep that follow me. I know I've got some people that think outside the box. I have people that follow me that live in a different paradigm. And the attacks on us that live outside the box, that live outside the matrix and the trauma loop cage of Oz, have been under attack. Like that little gnat trying to get my face. There has never been a moment, though. There has never been a moment like this. There has never been a moment like this where there's so much power and so much potential. So much happening. Now, there's an interesting thing, though, that happens. There's a tipping point. Malcolm Gladwell, is that his name? I think so. There's a book. It's called The Tipping Point. Super interesting read if you're into personal development and that kind of thing. There is an energetic tipping point. There is, you'll have a few people at the beginning begin to pick up on an ideology, on an idea, on a product, on a thing, on a whatever. And they are the early adopters. And many of you that follow me your early adopters. Okay, but we are reaching a tipping point. We're reaching a point where there are enough people waking up now that the bell curve begins to go like this. And the bulk actually is on the wave. And now is the time to actually step fully into our power, fully into our capabilities, fully knowing that redemption is upon us, that revival is here, and that restoration is coming. And if we can hold that line, if we can toe that line, and we can hold that faith and that vision, and we can see captives being set free, we can see wars being stamped out, we can see people being restored to their sovereignty, to their health, to their well-being, that is what will be so here on earth. Redemption is here. Revival is upon us. So what does revival mean anyway? Revival. Revival means to return, to recall, or recovery from death, or apparent death. Revival, like to revive someone, to like bust out the little heart things and shock them back to life. Revival. To bring someone back from the brink of death into full life. And how many people, maybe it's you, maybe it's someone that you know, how many people have been so afraid of death recently that they aren't even living? By the way, the only time that you are afraid of death is when you are not actually living. And in that moment, you are already dead. Dead as a doornail. Now is not a time to be caught there in fear or to be afraid of living. Now is a time to actually be fully embodied, fully alive, to allow your dreams and your spirit and your knowing to be revived. Revival is a return to activity. It is a return of the spirit, the revival of the spirit within you. It is recovery. Oh, this is so interesting. Recovery from a state of neglect. How many people around the world have been severely neglected by the policies and the practices and the programming of the people in control? How many people do you know? Like, I've lived in 16 states since all of this kicked off, and I got to tell you, I have seen countless businesses with their doors shut permanently. I have seen families torn apart. I have seen people financially debilitated. I see other workplaces now begging for help because no one wants to work, because some people are being compensated for not showing up, right? How much neglect, though, has existed here? I'm watching reports of people being denied medical coverage because they are opting to not participate in an experiment. And somehow we think that that is acceptable. Recovery from a state of neglect. This is ending. I'm seeing people begin to rise up. I'm seeing people have one another's backs. I'm seeing people see through the lies and through the deceit and the agenda. And I'm seeing people begin to band together as human beings here on earth. The truth is when we are attempting to source our security and our sense of safety from something that is not the creator, but is something that has been created, something that is man-made, we are perverting, inverting, cutting off our actual supply, and we have actually outsourced it to something that can never actually fulfill that need. See, our sustenance comes direct from source to ourselves. And as human beings, we are supposed to have giving enough, caring enough hearts of charity and goodwill and kindness and generosity. We are actually here to help the other people, not to have the government always bail us out. Thank you. See, when you put the government in a position to be able to do something like that, you give them all your power. You give them power over your sense of safety and your sense of security and your bodily autonomy and your well-being or not. And the more that we give them that power, the more that that power corrupts absolutely. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. We've put politicians in places where they are making decisions about people's bodies, but they don't live in those people's bodies. Don't you think those kinds of choices should be left to the source and to the self that actually is dealing with that body? We are being set free from this. I know it does not seem like it yet, but there are more and more and more people standing up and standing together. And if you are listening to this message, this is your wake-up call and your sign that it is time to do something now. Faith without works is dead. Recovery. Revival is recovery from a state of neglect. The neglect is ending. So start within yourself first and stop neglecting you. Stop neglecting you. Stop trying to twist yourself into a pretzel to please somebody else. Stop turning down the volume of who you are. Stop diluting your message. Stop trying to chop off bits of yourself to be able to fit in. You are not here to fit in with this world. You are here to rise above it. You are here to create something different beyond it, something for our children and for our children's children. When we are called to leave a legacy, that is what that means. It is not just dollar bills. See, they really twisted it, didn't they? They told us to leave a legacy that lasts generations, but yet we pollute our planet with our garbage and our waste with no thought about what that does for our kids. No, leave a legacy, leave an earth that your children get to call home. And still within them, this spirit of revival, this spirit of freedom, this spirit of sovereign choice, this spirit of strength and courage, not one of fear. Fear is not the legacy you want to leave for your kids. You leave your kids to that and you lead them directly into slavery. Clearly there's a message coming out because I've got some spit coming up in here. Recovery from a state of oblivion. I gotta read the definition of oblivion. Oblivion. Oh, dude, I've been there. You ever been to oblivion? Oblivion is forgetfulness. When you are gone, when you are lost in oblivion, I used to drink myself to oblivion. I would drink myself to forgetfulness. Many people are there when they are seemingly sober. They have forgotten. They have failed to remember who they are and whose they are. You are a child of God. You are the sons and daughters of God. You are a product of Source, the Creator. You are literally a fractal from the being of God. Will you remember that? Please? Pull yourself back from the brink, back from oblivion, and back into the light, into the truth of who you really are. Recovery from obscurity. To obscure means dark, desolate. There is no light. You are living in darkness. You are unnoticed. How many people living in the world, in the modern world, dealing with the modern malady of this hole in the soul feeling, how many of you feel unnoticed? I know I did. To obscure means to cloud, to hide from view. And if you are living in the land of Oz that I have been talking about, the design of Oz, it is designed to obscure the truth. It is designed to mislead, to dissuade. It is perverted and inverted, and it is literally designed to cut you off both from yourself and from your source. And then somehow you expect to have a full, thriving life when you don't have you, nor do you have the fuel to charge you up. That's all ending. As I was writing this, I asked God for a message, and he turned me to Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 25. He says, I'll refresh tired bodies. I'll restore tired souls. And I just got chills up and down my body because that is truth. I know that your body has become weary. I know that it has become beat down. That is the result of decades of poisoning. That is the result of fighting a battle by yourself that you were never intended to fight alone. That is the result of being cut off from your source. I'll restore tired souls. And I don't know about you, but I am interdimensional and infinite, and I am tapped into all of that, and I am constantly working energetically on many different levels. And I have been exhausted. I have been beat down. Like in my waking day, it is spiritual warfare and physical works of love and contribution to the planet. And then I fall asleep at night and I dream, but it's not a dream. It's very much real, and I'm working there too. And I wake up feeling battle tested. And I have grown weary, or I had grown weary. But God tells us that that yoke is light and that there is rest for us when we remember. When we remember that there actually is this source that I'm connected to that flows through me. And when I stop trying to connect my energy just to this world and this world's people and this world's policies and this world's problems, and I stop trying to siphon my fuel from there, when I stop trying to pull energy from things that are diluted and disconnected from the source, and I instead go directly to the source, then I am revived. Somebody needs to hear that today. Seeking outside of yourself, external seeking along this earthly plane is never going to fill you up. It is never going to remedy the hole in your soul feeling that you have. There's never going to be enough money. There's never going to be a substance or a shopping list or a scroll fest or whatever that is ever going to fill you up the way that yourself, you actually being who you're designed to be, and your source can. All right. Restoration. Restoration is coming. Redemption is here. Revival is upon us, and restoration is coming. Restoration. Renewal. Re-establishment. Recovery. Renewal of health and soundness. Now, soundness, this means in your mind, your body, and your soul. To be sound in mind means to be able to think critically, be able to weigh options, to have a calm demeanor, to be able to decipher what is true and good and real. That is to have a sound mind. To be alert to danger, to know when to change course, but to be true to yourself is to be sound. A sound body has a fully functioning immune system and a trust in it. A sound body means that there is recovery and restoration coming for your achy joints and your sore muscles and your pounding head. Those things are not how you are intended to be. And more is coming. Restoration is coming. I declare healing over your body now. Receive it. Recovery. Recovery from a lapse. Recovery from a bad state. Now, when I read this, I take this on a couple of lines. Number one, the state of things right now is rather messed up, is it not? But restoration tells me that there is recovery coming, that state will not last forever. Just as I can change the state of my being, and I can intentionally, with my focus and with my thought, go from feeling lackluster or even depressed, and I can choose joy no matter what is coming. There is a change coming to the state of things. There is a change coming to the state of our affairs in the nation, to the state of how we run business, how we create laws, how we school, how we practice health care. By the way, it's actually going to become about care and health because we the people are standing for that. Restoration. God told me, I will make the old things new, so that the new is solid, clean, and beautiful. You know, we're in Oklahoma right now, and It was absolutely a divine appointment pulling in here. I learned a while ago to not plan too far ahead, to allow God to actually dictate my path. And I ask every day that the will of Source be done over the will of myself, because I often don't know what is actually good for me. I have this expectation of what things might need to look like, and quite frankly, my life just goes a lot smoother when I let go of the wheel and I trust I'm going to be in the right place at the right time. I found that the teacher always appears when the student is ready, and the door always opens when the timing is right. And God is never early, and God is never late. So before we pulled in here, we were like scrolling Boondocker Welcome, and we found this place. We requested that we be able to come and stay the morning of. Which is so funny. Like, I always talk to people and they're like, oh, I booked it 13 months in advance. I have to be prepared. And that has just never been my life. Like, it's fine. It always works out. So we book it. She's like, the lady that owns this house, she's like, yeah, I actually thought I had the entire month booked off. I wasn't planning on having anyone stay, but I'm home, so y'all can come. And we meet. And, I had been feeling rather down within myself, rather disconnected, rather sad, rather lonely, and I was needing desperately some sister time. I was needing to sit and to share myself face to face. We have tear ducts in our eyes for a reason. It's because we are actually supposed to be looking at and sharing with another person our grief, our sadness, but also our joy, our breakthrough, our gratitude. We are hardwired for connection. And it was beginning to feel to me like I'd gone a little while without enough kind of connection. And in we pull, and here she is, and she's amazing. Coincidentally, I don't really believe in coincidences, but her granddaughter has the same name as my daughter, Lily Grace. Talk about a sign that we were in the right place. And I start to talk to her, and she says, well, I just got divorced, and I need to put my house on the market, but there are so many things I can't do on my own. And I said, well, we could help you. We're here. We have hands. We know how to do some things. I'm happy to help. And the relief and the joy and the happiness that came over me, and knowing that I could help another being, because isn't it true, like when you're able to help somebody, does it not feel good for you too? And so she invited us to stay. She actually went on a mission trip for 6 days, and we stayed here while she was gone, and we've just been working on some things, and we've about got her house ready to be able to go on the market. And I'm so grateful for divine appointments like this, because what a reminder of how we're actually intended to live here on earth. One of the things that the world has taught us is that we're supposed to go out and earn all kinds of dollars so that way we can provide the things that we actually need for our survival today. But if you're honest with yourself, what you really need for your survival today, you need to eat. Today, your physical body requires food. I mean, unless you're doing some crazy fasting thing, which props to you. But for the most part, what do you need? You need food and water today. And if the weather gets to be too crazy, you may require shelter. But historically, people didn't live the way that we live right now. All right? You're really resilient, and you don't require nearly what you think you need. But we go out and we make all this money, and we think then we use the money to do these things that are just really basic, which is, I need to feed myself, I need to drink some water, and I might need to have some shelter. And we've become totally disconnected. We've actually created a culture of people that are looking to a job for security, or they're looking to the government, or they're looking to the next thing for security, when the truth is the security exists within you, and the food comes from the ground here on the earth. And there are lots of ways to come about that might not look the way that Oz told you or programmed you that they need to be. So we get here. One of the things that needed to be done, she has this great big deck on the back of her house. Big porch with Half of it's covered with ceiling fans, and there's a pool there and a hot tub and a pond out back. It's great. It's a great spot. It's a great place to like come and connect with people. But this deck looked so old. Like seriously, it looked like, I don't know, like it was old. And I wonder how many people right now feel like they're tired, like they're old, like they're worn out, like they're too covered with debris to be useful anymore. Because honestly, that's the point that this deck was at. I looked at it and it was like, probably needs to be replaced. But, instead we took out the power washer and we began to blast off the old. We began to blast off the mold. We began to blast off the moss and the things that had begun growing on the deck. We took it off layer by layer, and off came the stain from the past. And suddenly, I'll have to post a picture, the deck looks new. So when we're talking about restoration, that is part of the process that is happening. The source and the energy right now is actually refining you. It is bringing up the debris. It is bringing up the part of you that needs to be skimmed off the top. I don't know if y'all know about how they refine gold and silver, but that's exactly what they do. Pardon. The gold and the silver comes out of the earth and it has a lot of debris within it. And in order to get rid of the debris, in order to make it shiny and useful and new, in order to stand on this back deck again, in order to have it be a place where you could entertain, we had to clear away the old. So much of what's happening right now, there is an energetic power washer being blasted on us to blast off the bits of us that are not true, that are not solid, that are not real, that are old, that are from some old thing. So we power washed it. We get to this part of the deck where like legit a person had fallen through the deck. Clearly like they were not standing on solid ground. The deck had given way and it had collapsed. And isn't that interesting? That which is not solid will fall away. That which is not built on a solid foundation will disintegrate. That's what's happening right now. Right now we are watching the shift. The old guard is falling. The things that are falling through, that which is falling through and falling out was never built on a solid foundation to begin with. It is not meant to hold weight. Now, the truth always holds weight. It always holds its own weight. That which is false, though, is false evidence appearing real. It is false. It is fake. It is like a production studio light instead of the sun. So there's this chunk of the deck where like a person had legit fallen through and the boards were so rotted, and then there was a whole other section that looked kind of okay. Maybe we could salvage it. And we start pulling up boards and they're crumbling to dust in my hands. There are many things right now that are crumbling to dust in God's hands, and it's happening not on accident, but with great intention. See, there has been rot beneath the surface that your eyes could not see because it was in the dark, because it was hidden. And we are pulling up the boards of this space that we have called society. We are pulling up the boards and we are flipping them over and we are inspecting them. We are checking to see if they are solid and if they are secure, and if they are not, quite frankly, all of those rotten boards are going to the burn pile. They will be lit on fire and turned to ash and blown away in the wind. And in the place of those rotten spaces, those spaces that do not bear weight, those spaces that cannot uphold what is true and what is real and what is coming in the future, those things are being replaced. A new work is being done. When this restoration happens, it will not be like it was before. It will be new. And yet, it will be restored. Okay? You know, when you see, I drive past all these really cool old barns all the time. I'm such a sucker for old barns. But I see them standing there, or some of them like barely standing there. You can't just take that structure with the rotted out wood and like screw back into it and say it's going to be fine. That's not restoration. Restoration is actually peeling back those layers of what is broken and replacing it with something that is solid and new and real. And until you do that, like that thing, that self will not be able to weather the storm. And those things right now that are not weathering the storm were never built on truth. They always had rot within them. And that rot is being exposed and it is being eradicated. This is good news. This is good news. Okay? I talk about this a lot. So we ended up redoing her entire deck. Well, we power washed it. All the boards that needed to be pulled up have been pulled up. They have been replaced with fresh, new wood, with something that is strong, with something that is cured, with something that is treated, with something that will withstand the coming storm. And that's what's happening to you right now as well. That's what's happening to your mind. That is what is happening to your body. And that is what is happening to your soul if you choose it and if you allow it. All right, let me see if there's anything else that wanted to be said. The people have a choice to make. Continue to follow the folly of the world and its false idols, or come home to the true nature of the self and the source. Come back to who you are and whose you are by divine design. Solid, built on a foundation of truth. Tapped into yourself, tapped into your source. And then from this space of being so full of yourself, so connected, so plugged in, from that place of overflow. Not from the place of having the hole in the soul, but from the place of overflow. From the place of plenty, from the place of more than enough, from the place of never-ending supply. Then pour out your heart. You know, I put a post up a little while ago and someone asked me to expand on it and I haven't yet, so I guess I'll cover it right now. I said that if you knew what was coming, if you knew what was coming, you would put your whole heart into what you are doing right now and you would not care about the dollar signs or the dollar amounts tied to it. You would put your whole heart into it. See, those old systems that are not built on a sound foundation, they are crumbling. But the acts that are done through your heart, through your own goodwill, through your own gift and your own contribution to humanity, those things will live and reign forever. And there is a divine algorithm. There is a divine sheet of checks and balances that is literally tallying up all of the spaces that you are willing to be wholehearted, fully invested, fully present. All the places that you are willing to give of yourself and your knowledge and your wisdom. Every place that you are willing to be the hug and the smile and the heart and the hands and the feet. All of those places are being accounted for now. You know, there's a statement, the meek shall inherit the earth. And I used to really wonder about this because there's not a problem with abundance is our birthright, okay? You're meant to be abundant. But this world has gotten what that means really twisted, and they have attributed it strictly to dollar signs, and so many people have actually neglected and they have forgotten about the riches and the abundance and the well-being and the ease and the thriving that is all around us all the time, that is present with us. And where we're going and what is being created, those things, those false idols, quite frankly, like religion, and sports and money and celebrity and fame. Those things are crumbling because they are but a piece of the creation. They're not of the Creator directly. There is so much more sustenance, so much more security, so much more beauty available to you right now, and there is so much more coming. Revival is here. New life is being breathed into your very bones. Redemption is upon us. You will be redeemed. Now, of course, if you're choosing it, not everybody makes it to the end. Some people fall asleep or doze out or walk out partway through the movie. Not everybody makes it to the end. Not everybody actually wants to choose that. Can you be okay with the fact that you might be on a different path than some of the people that you really love and you really care about? Because that's the space. Acceptance, allowance of each person being on their own journey. That's the space that will actually bring you restoration. And mark my words, I've been eerily right about all of this that's happening. Which, by the way, it isn't me. It's the Holy Spirit speaking through me. It sees things that I can't see with my human eyes, but it gives me vision. Put it that way. Mark my words. What is coming is better than anything we've ever had before. What is coming is more profound, more real, more beautiful. It's like, I don't know if y'all have ever had this experience before. I had a time in my life where everything just looked dim and gray, and then one day I woke up after this kind of revival that overtook me, and I could see colors again. I mean, honestly, I could hear colors again too. That's the kind of thing that's coming. New fruit. New fruit, new plenty, new light, new purity. Our very existence is going through a revival. Our very earth is being redeemed and restored. And your divine inheritance is making its way back to you. And again, people hear inheritance of this world and they think, I'm getting some cash, and you might. Very well might. You might get cash, you might get gold, you might get something. But your divine inheritance is actually your knowledge that you are, in fact, a child of God. That you are here on divine appointment by divine design, specifically and uniquely you. No one else like you. And your divine inheritance is also unique to you. And it breathes within you, and it's breathing new life into old dreams that perhaps have been dead for a little while now. All right. So this is the good news. Revival is here. Redemption is here. Restoration is here. Do you choose it? Will you leap whole-assed, full-fledged off the edge and into it? Because it is here. It is here right now for each and every person that chooses it. Love y'all.